Excellent. All right. So before we start, give me the correct pronunciation of your name.
Kremena Yordanova.
Yordanova.
You can, yeah.
Do you roll the R?
Yeah, but
Kremena Yordanova.
super well.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's...
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. This is episode 558, and we sat down with Kremena Yordanova in Sofia, Bulgaria, to talk to her about being an executive at Reebok, a position that she loves very much, but also being a yoga instructor, something else that she is very passionate about. And it was so fun to sit down with her, get to know her. And what I want you to catch from this episode is really just this idea, which we've spoken about before on the podcast, of the importance of looking at a both and option as opposed to an either or option. A lot of the women entrepreneurs who come on Support is Sexy podcast talked about how they're doing a both and. Maybe they have a career that they love and they have a business, or they have something else going on and they have a business. It doesn't have to be an either or. It can look a lot of different ways, and I'm so grateful to Kremena for reminding us of that. So without further ado, Kremena Yordanova. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today for the Support is Sexy podcast here in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to chat with you, learn more about you, and I'm happy that Laura introduced us. And you're in town from Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, I just flew in 3 days ago, and I'm very, very pleased to meet you and to be with all my besties here in town. Amazing connection with Laura, and very humbled to be here.
Oh,
thanks for having me.
So our first question I always ask everyone about the podcast, of course, is all about entrepreneurship. So I want to ask you, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
Okay, well, it goes way back when. I'm born in Bulgaria, but when I was little, my family moved to Siberia, from all places in the world.
Wow.
And I think that was between my 5th and 10th year that I found out that if you have something that no one else has, you can sell it. Mm-hmm. So I think it was around that age that I really fell in love with not just entrepreneurship, but figuring out that the value of things that no other else has. Mm-hmm. I will be selling chewing gums and trading some things that I would find in Bulgaria and no one else had there. And even thinking about different suppliers to make bigger profit. Obviously, I didn't know what profit and none of that meant, but from very young age.
So what was it that made you start doing that when you were, between ages 5 and 10? Was it just...
I was just seeking for friendships. I figured that if I would be giving kids chewing gums and they'll be my friends, that's how it started. Then suddenly I realized, wait a minute, if they still don't want to be my friends, because I was very lonely at that time, maybe I can sell those things. Mm-hmm. And that's how it kind of started. I continued that when we came back to Bulgaria with different, let's say, bars and mm-hmm. whatever the needs were, but it was from very young age. I even had a fake idea of name for my company. Uh-huh. It was just my 3 letters and 4 letters, and I really contemplated that thought from very young age. And then it didn't happen till very late in my life that I actually found what my purpose with entrepreneurship is.
What was it like to live in Siberia? You were there from what ages?
So very impactful times of young girls' age. Mm-hmm. From 5 to 10, my first school years was like I had to go to school there, not speaking the language much. Right. There were a few moments where I was bullied, and that also marked me. Yeah. But it made me stronger, and it made me very, very aware of kids are not very nice sometimes, mm-hmm. and they find ways to diminish your worth, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that's also how I started giving chewing gums and trying to please people and trying to figure out where do I fit. When it was minus 40, though, it was great because I didn't go to school.
Right.
So I would be
at home, right?
So I would be very pleased when it gets so cold that you don't get to go to school, because then at least I can stay home and play with my cats. Mm-hmm. And my big sister, she was with me in that period of the time, and my whole family, and she ended up in lots of fights because of me.
Oh, taking up for you?
Yes.
I was going to ask you if you had any brothers and sisters. Yeah. So that's good. You weren't completely alone trying to figure it out.
No, my bigger sister, Anna, I adore, and she was my safekeeper there, because I would just be not very cooperative with the other kids. They didn't want to play with me, and I couldn't figure out why. So I would just go and force them to play with me, which is not a good idea to do it. So we end up on, she needed to rescue me on a few occasions, and she still reminds me about that.
She still reminds you about that. So what would you say, or how would you say that time in your life, because 5 to 10, like you said, is a very, important time for a young girl coming of age. Do you feel like, we mentioned that the bullying and feeling sort of as an outsider, it sounds like, made you stronger. What ways do you feel like that might be playing into who you are today?
I get the chance to experience now that being different or being perceived as different is actually a strength. At the beginning, I thought, okay, they're just mean, but the way it made me stronger is to see other people's differences and really to get connected to people from different backgrounds. And for me, traveling now, as much as I would like to do it more, gives me the opportunity to see, we all have different backgrounds and we're all the same in the bigger scale of things. But the strength came from the fact that I don't have to prove that I belong, but it took me quite some time to get to that stage.
Do you feel like it was recently that you got to that stage, like within the past, not recently like yesterday, but recently within
past 2 years.
Past 2 years.
There is this pattern of mine that I've always felt, I don't belong. And that sense of belonging, it's you cultivate it. You find where you belong, where you're at. We've been moving countries, and I've always changed schools, and you always need to connect with new people. And I know many entrepreneurs have that in them, that your background is relationships, and it's a great value to have and a great skill to have, but you need to work on it. And I had to work on it, even if I didn't want to sometimes. But you get better with each school, with each new teacher, with each new country even. You find out new things about yourself. And that just makes you stronger.
It's so funny that thank you for sharing that, just that whole experience of, being bullied younger and feeling like an outsider, and then how you've grown, especially just recently. But it reminds me of my experience being part of remote year and being in different countries. We were in Spain at first, and then of course now here in Bulgaria. And I feel like I've grown so much just from feeling sort of different or sort of like an outsider and that kind of thing. And it teaches you so much about yourself when you put yourself in these environments where you have no idea what to expect. I've never been here before, no idea what to expect, but I feel like I have grown, or am growing, through this process, not even just from the travel. You never know what the experiences are going to do, right?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it, exactly. That's the surprise of it.
And when we moved back to Bulgaria, it took me ages to figure out how to speak my own language, and it felt again that I had to reevaluate who I am. And it's been a pattern of mine. Now I'm this and now I'm that. And speaking more languages helps you to figure out different people, but who you really are and how you really are rooted into all this madness that is happening around you is a big chunk of my spiritual growth now, but I'm working on it.
Where did you learn English? Did you learn that here in Bulgaria?
Yes, quite late actually. I actually failed my first English exam, and I always treasured what my mom did. Every time I would fail something, she would give me a present, and that teach me to celebrate my failures more than I celebrate my successes, because it's easy to kind of, I'll buy you something if you pass your exam. It takes different type of approach to celebrate your failure. I was 14 when I moved to another city here in Bulgaria, and that's where I went to high school for French. As a second language was only English for me. I failed twice my English exam. On the third attempt, I was the best in class, but it took me 3 times. So.
I love that your mom was your present or gave you presents when you failed. Is it because she said, well, you tried, or at least you tried? Or what was her way of explaining it to you?
She didn't explain much when she would do it. And the relationship with my mom is so special. And even though she's not here now, it teach me so many things that she wouldn't explain why she does things, but you just know that this is the right thing. I wouldn't feel guilty for failing. She would not give me a pep talk. Well done for you. You gave your best. Bulgarians, we're not like that. We are very humble.
And very strong too.
Yes. So you kind of do things, and then you hope that your child will understand later on. And I'm now at the stage when I'm understanding some of the lessons that my mom taught me. You only see them, 20 years later.
Right, when you look back on.
Failures are very, very, very important part of your success path. And if you don't take time to acknowledge them or to really stay comfortable with them, you can't really go forward. Or that's how I experienced it, at least. Right. So
to acknowledge them and to even celebrate them, as
your
mom says, because I tried this and
she bought me the best sweater I've ever had. And to be honest, that always reminds me. I still remember that sweater. I mean, I don't know where it ended up, but I still remember that sweater. And it's just amazing to have a supportive family like that, and not to tell you, oh my God, like what a loser, or I don't know, I don't know what.
Or have been sad because you failed, right? Where you already might have felt bad about it, and then now it's like, we're going to celebrate.
But there was a moment where, as in a younger age, I always had this feeling things will come my way. I wasn't putting enough efforts. My childhood was already kind of tough enough in some extremes that I didn't need to be, let me push also at school or academically, or I didn't try to prove anything with that. It just comes.
Now, one of the things I heard in the video of you that I saw, she's making a face, the video I saw of you, that was interesting what you just said about pushing, and that they used to call you the Kremenator. Kremenator, I couldn't remember, like the Terminator?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, did she say the Kremenator? Okay, so tell us, at what point then did you become the Kremenator?
The Kremenator comes in a stage of my life when I started working at Adidas and Reebok at the time, and all my colleagues were super afraid of me. Basically, there was a moment where I was so driven, and so as soon as I moved to the Netherlands, I had this desire to prove that I'm capable and I'm deserving to be having this great job in an amazing corporation. And
did you move there for the job?
No.
Oh, okay.
The only I make this joke, but I actually believe in it. The only reason why someone should end up in Holland is love, because the weather is not that nice.
Oh, right.
So I've been working prior to that on a cruise ship, Mediterranean, very nice vibes and all that. And then I met a guy, and we decided that we should move to Holland because I'll get better opportunities for work. When we moved to the Netherlands, it was very, very cold. Very hostile, very much not the place I would like to be living. Nevertheless, I stick around, and I've been there for 12 years now, and that's my other thing, is like you never know where you end up. I've always thought that sunny girl should be on an island somewhere sipping margaritas, and no, I'm in Holland now for 12 years and I enjoy it, but in the beginning was quite tough. I moved for love there. Found a job. I applied for jobs at Nike to begin with. They didn't take me. I was very disappointed, but little then you find where you really belong after. So Reebok took me over in 2007 as a product flow coordinator, and something between the title of the job really attracted me, because prior to that I was in the fashion industry with lingerie making company here in Bulgaria. So they took me on board for that specific part of my
like design kind of.
It was more I was doing a lot here, like in the small companies in Bulgaria you kind of do everything.
Okay.
There is no marketing person, there is no marketing.
Right.
You're doing it all.
Separate departments.
No, it's 5 people office and you kind of do it all. They hired me at the time because of my French language, and we were exporting to France, and that's how it started. But when I moved to Holland and then Reebok came, and my first job interview I was not giving up. My manager that hired me at the time, she mentioned, you were not even blinking. You were so determined that you want this job. They called me immediately. I didn't even think it was that good of a job interview, but I was hungry.
Right.
I was so hungry for that job that they could sense it, and they could really see the potential I had at the time. And to be honest, I never thought about moving away from Adi or Reebok. It's been my first employer in the Netherlands, and they've been more than happy and more than generous with me. When I started at Reebok, a few of my friends there and colleagues started calling me the Kremenator. Now many people want to take credit for coming up with the name. So I don't know who to mention. Everyone is speaking, especially after the video now. Everyone is like, I came up with that name first.
Right.
I don't recall. I recall only there was one presentation, and I used a very not nice picture actually at the time, saying that, guys, you need to kind of provide the information in the right time, otherwise I'll hunt you down or something like that. And they were like, no, the Kremenator is here.
Right.
And it took a whole different life, that whole name.
And were you happy with the name?
I must say I was with mixed feelings. There was a pride in it because you kind of are labeled as she knows it all, she can do the work, and I've put so much effort to become that person and to really strive for excellence and perfectionism. And little that I know, you kind of don't need to do only that, and there is much more to getting the job done. But most of my peers will be either scared of me, which is not something I'm proud of now. Mm-hmm. We're good friends now, but in the beginning, it will be this intimidation technique. And it comes back to the bullying part. And for me, when I found yoga later on is where I start softening that Kremenator attitude, and that not my way is the highway, is the only way, and all those paths that showed up after practicing.
Right.
But I took pride in my nickname, and we sometimes say the Kremenator is back. Every now and then you need to use it, but being strong female in an environment that is corporate, sometimes, you come up with nicknames like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's the worst nickname I could have taken.
And I love what you said about relating it back to, when you were younger and making sure, like, wanting to be obviously the best and excellent in those things, but so much of our childhood or just our experiences in general play into either the kind of work we do or how we approach our work and that kind of thing. So, like you're saying, wanted it to be perfect and excellent, right, above reproach from anyone, I would imagine, and then making sure your team falls in line. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me since you mentioned yoga, how did yoga come into your life and then play a role with even changing the way you work?
So I found yoga when I moved to the Netherlands. Prior to that, I never had any experience or any thought about I will become now a yoga teacher and save the world, and unicorns and butterflies never crossed my mind. Right. I was very driven. When people say, oh, you leave your country to find yourself, at my age, it was you leave the country to find means to survive. Mm-hmm. It was survival mode. And when I found myself isolated in Holland the first few months and years, I didn't have a work permit back then. Bulgaria was not even part of the European Union. Mm-hmm. So it was very tough to find jobs.
And were you still with the person you moved?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so we stayed together for the past, 12 years, 10 years. Mm-hmm. And when I moved there, no one would hire me and no one would even consider my CV. So I had a whole year that I needed to wait till Bulgaria comes into the European Union. Mm-hmm. And I went to the first yoga class and I fell in love with that practice. At the beginning, I didn't know why. At the beginning, I didn't comprehend any of the philosophical experiences that I will have later on. Mm-hmm. I just knew I feel good in my body, and that alone was good enough reason to continue. 3, 4, 5 yoga classes later, I cannot imagine my life without this, because it gives you space between thoughts. It gives you a lot of other ways to express yourself even. And I stick to the practice, started my job simultaneously. And at the beginning, I thought yoga will be just making me better in everything I do. Yoga changes you even if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. That's the main message there, that if you stick to the practice, it opens so many more paths. And I softened not only from becoming the Kremenator to the yoga teacher in the office, by luck, by chance, no one was giving any classes, and I wanted to continue my practice. So I just rolled my mat and would do some poses. I didn't even know what the poses were called at the time. And people would come and like, can I practice with you? And we're like, yeah, sure, but I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But we've been requesting, can we have yoga classes in the office? And they will say, well, we need to see. And one day someone approaches me like, are you the yoga teacher? And at the time I was far from being a yoga teacher. Mm-hmm. And I said, no. But then he asked, but would you like to? And I said, yes. And I think that opened the door to, I prefer even teaching more than practicing as a practitioner, because mm-hmm. there is a serenity that seeing other people enjoying what you know is good for you makes me even more happy. So little by little, it was 2008 when we moved to the new office in Amsterdam, and I'd be rolling my mat every now and then, twice a week maybe, begging people to come to my class. Few of my friends, few of my coworkers, I would just say to them, can you come because I want to practice? And now the class is too full and no one has a space for mats, and we don't even have a space for the normal classes anymore.
That's amazing. So now you've been doing, so almost 10 years?
Yes.
You've been doing the yoga classes at your company.
Yeah, it all started as a almost semi-joke, I really would like to have classes here, no one is doing it, let's create something. At the time, many people wanted to just experience yoga, and you had to explain to them what yoga really is.
Right.
Nowadays, yoga is so mainstream,
Right.
and
so many people, yes.
so many styles, so many people are also in the office. Amazing yoga teachers are available in our Amsterdam office. And when I started together with Marcia, who is actually here today with us in Sofia, there was no one. So you start things that you know you enjoy, and I'm sure many other people will enjoy it too. If you like something, most likely other people like it too.
And I think it's such a great example for everyone listening for how to, well, one, I'm all about starting, right? Even if you don't know exactly how it's going to work out or what it's going to look like. Like you said, you just started asking people to come to class because you wanted to practice and it was something you obviously were passionate about. And then you never know, one, who's watching. Like this person comes to you and says, do you want to be the yoga teacher of the company? And then you never know how it's impacting other people, because now, as you said, your class is full, or sounds like overflow in the class. So it's just a beautiful example of, showing up and saying, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to say yes, and then not knowing exactly how it's going to work out.
It took some years till I gained the confidence to really call myself a teacher. It took me also a very long time to figure out what style of yoga, because we mentioned there are so many styles, there are so many ways to express yourself on the mat and outside of the mat. And forever grateful to Tara Stiles, the founder of Strava Yoga. She was in Amsterdam I think she was giving a workshop in Utrecht few years back, and I entered and I wanted to take part of the workshop. And she saw one of her samples of Reebok, because at the time she was our ambassador, and she was like, where did you get that? And that's how that conversation started with the founder of a style that really relates to what I want to express in yoga, the ease in movement, the not being too pretentious on the yoga mat, and be yourself really. And you don't need to speak Sanskrit. You don't need to be even believing in all the other things. You just need to feel good in your body, and that's already a good start for many people in the office, at least.
And it's called
Strava Yoga.
Strava Yoga.
Strava Yoga is New York-based. Tara Stiles is the founder, and she's amazing, and I really love her, and she gave me so much confidence, so much knowledge also to go and continue with what I love, because it's one thing to have the passion, is another thing to have the skills to continue doing it and pursue what you really love.
Now, how does it work with, or I should say, how do you balance having your job, which is obviously very demanding? What is your exact position in marketing?
Senior marketing activation for Reebok. Hold on, we need to. It's a new one. Senior marketing activation manager for Reebok e-commerce.
And then obviously you're very in-demand yoga instructor for the past many years. So is it something that you even have to balance, or is it just such a part of your life now that it just sort of flows?
I get the question a lot, like, when you're going to quit your full-time job to become following only your dream of yoga teacher. To me, it never occurred to give up one or the other. They're so intertwined, and you can't even separate. I'm the same person. Yes, I'm a yoga teacher, and yes, I still like to be challenged at work. I have an amazing team at work that is supporting any yoga aspiration I would like to have. And even now, being 4 days away, my team is handling the job more than capably without me. And they know that yoga is a big part of me, and it helps me also managing my team way better and managing my stress levels. And I believe that if everyone does yoga, they perform so much better at their job. I know it for a fact for me. I know it for a fact for many of my colleagues that we've been practicing together. And I also believe that it makes me a better yoga teacher outside because I can relate to people's problems by living their life. I do have a stressful job at times, and I know it takes more than 5 minutes to ground yourself, to come back to your senses and just really practice. So I know how to communicate with people that maybe don't have 20 minutes every day to be meditating. So I never was a very much big of a choice, one or the other. You can do both, and you can do both successfully if you know why, the intention.
I'm very big on intention. I love that you said that. And I love too that you said, just as you mentioned, that you can do both. There is a way to, one of the things I talk about that I've only learned over the past few years is I used to make things often an either or choice instead of a both and. Like, how can I have this and that if that's what I want? And just as in your example, people might automatically think, oh, but you're so great at this, or oh, you're so great at the other. When are you going to choose either or? And here's such a shiny example of both and a career and a job that challenges you, a team that you love, obviously a company you love, and then yoga being, and then how they both do work together to support each other.
I wouldn't imagine my life without one or the other. I mean, it came together, and it's always been intertwined. And if I would have to become only a yoga teacher, I don't think I'll be as happy as I am right now. If I only will have to be pursuing a yoga career in corporate world and aiming for that next step, I don't think that will be also something I'll be very happy with. A combination between the two. How can I bring more mindfulness, more calmness in my work is something I'm excited about, and the other way around. How can I be authentic yoga teacher that can serve a bigger population that just is stressed out of their heads?
Right. I love that. And then do you find that, so thinking about from the yoga instructor side or the business side, do you do things outside of work related to yoga? I know you do retreats also and some other things. How does that work?
Retreats are a great example of detaching yourself from your daily routines that maybe possibly are not ideal for you, and just mini breaks. They don't have to be too long. They also don't have to be 3-month sabbaticals. And in ideal world, everyone should be having that space. But what we do, and me and Laura, we sat over pizza and a glass of wine, and we came up with this whole concept of yoga, food, and wine. We do like yoga, we do like wine, we do like the space where we can create environments for people to just explore what yoga can bring you, serenity in your life. How can you connect to other people? Often we forget that yoga is not just connection between body, mind, and spirit, but it's connecting with others. So what we do in our retreats is facilitating that connection, and people tend to come back way more refreshed and thinking we've been a week away.
Right.
And it's been just so...
and be some big stress to get there, to relax, and then be stressed to get back, right?
Yeah, and the beauty about it is outside of work, I teach also in other studios, and I carefully select who I work with. What I've learned in my years of trying to do it all and one-man show, it's asking for help, is finding the right people to support your journey. If your intentions are similar, most likely you work really well with that people. And I'm more than lucky to have enough supporting yoga studios in Amsterdam, not just in Amsterdam, but everywhere in the world. When I started yoga, I was with a few of my friends. They are now only doing yoga, and we get to reconnect in any part of the world, really, and just continue doing what we intended to do while we are practicing yoga, why we think this is really matter, why it matters to us and to others. And you need to have that support group that basically gets you. I cannot be teaching with people that I don't have a good chemistry with, because it shows. And if your intention is just to make 20 retreats a year, which I don't think it's really feasible, do 5, but do 5 with your best friends, and everyone is having an awesome time. And that's what we stand for. Yoga, food, and wine, and any other format of retreat is pure joy of let's share all this we have, and it's been very, very great.
How do you let people know about the retreats? Is it open to? Is it you and just friends, or is it open to?
It's open for everyone, because we believe that when you have more people that actually understand that the practice of yoga is something really special. And we have much more in common always than just the yoga part. Connecting with people, it's open for everyone. They can find the information on my Instagram. I'm more present there than anywhere else.
And your Instagram is?
Your Yoga, Y-O-R, Yoga, together.
Your Yoga. We'll make sure we have a link to it, but just so people can hear it if they're interested right now.
So the next retreat is already in February next year in Holland. It's called Zeeland. I keep saying it wrong, and people think I'm going to New Zealand. That's not the point. Not there yet. But the first one is in February, 1st of February till 3rd. It's a weekend away in a luxurious villa. Anyone that is listening to the podcast should come, and there will be a nice discount code. Nice. I'll need to come up with it. You let me know.
Sure we have it before
please.
It comes up.
We'll do it just now.
That's great. So it includes practice. Obviously, you're there at the villa, the location, and then, like you said, just really bonding and learning more about yourself.
Yes, and we do this practice of self-reflection and journaling if people are into it. Depending on who shows up, we kind of tailor-made those retreats because as much as we like to think this is an enjoyable practice for us, the whole concept of your yoga is that the practice is for you. It's tailored to your needs, and it's something you do. We believe also that yoga is something that just happens. You can't make people do yoga, practice yoga, or even be yoga. It's their own experiences. So often we just see who shows up and we tweak it, and we have many tools to make people really at ease in their own body, but mostly in their minds. And we love when they come back and share things that happened after the retreat.
Right. Now, how many retreats have you done so far?
Together with Laura, we've done more than 8 international ones. I have a couple of other supporting teachers. Shout out to Irina, who is an amazing yoga teacher. Marcia from Portugal also. She's here with us in Sofia. I'm working also towards manifesting another retreat in Bali. It's a dream of mine. And you know how they say when you're ready, it will happen. And I've never felt more ready for this one, so it better be next year. It's like, I think it will be happening very soon, because I've been mentioning it for many, many seasons, let's say, and they're like, when you're doing that retreat, everyone is asking. I think possibly it will be this next year.
Fantastic. I can't wait to link to it. We'll be excited to get a discount code. But also, as you were speaking about yoga and obviously your passion for it, I can feel it. I was thinking about an interview I did with a woman, I think it was with Kanjit Farrell. She's a therapist, but she has a yoga practice. And when she mentioned this to me, it really clicked for me, because I've tried yoga here and there, but haven't stuck with it. But she says, on the mat you learn, it's never just about the yoga practice. It's always about something else that's going on in your life, or you learn so much about yourself during that experience. And she just talked about like tightness, for example, or other things in your practice that could be an indication of something else in your life. And that's when it really clicked to me how the connection, people have such a strong connection to yoga. Do you find that as well?
Yes, and it's funny how bodies don't lie. We might convince ourselves and tell ourselves different stories, but you can totally sense what's going on to a certain extent, what's going on in people's lives by simply seeing which are their favorite postures, which are not their favorite postures. Sometimes it doesn't mean much, and I always have to take the light approach, and I like my classes to be infused with humor, because I find that when people find at ease in their bodies, they don't take themselves too serious, and that's a best way to explore what yoga can do for you and really see where it will bring you. But it does. It's just an expression of what's happening, and every time we show up on the mat, we're a different person. We don't have the same stories from yesterday. We don't have the same projections for the future, but the only thing we have is the present, and the mat doesn't lie, the practice doesn't lie, and you just need to quiet your mind and listen. And there is this beautiful moment when everyone is in Shavasana, and I just get goosebumps every time I see it happening. I've never had an experience where I'll do a class and I wouldn't enjoy it myself, and that's my intention, to just simply share what I know and be authentic on my teachings. And sometimes, as you mentioned, teachers might notice more and guide you to the right direction, or just show you, but you do the work and you really have to be ready for the practice, and the practice will show up, and the right teacher and the right moment, and all those things.
When the student is ready.
You'll be joining my class later on today, hopefully, or no?
And I want to. You said you were doing a class. I have 4 other interviews today, this afternoon. But you're leaving, right, tonight?
Tonight we are leaving, but nevertheless, I'll be back in Sofia.
This month?
This month, possibly. If not, I'll guys find you wherever you are.
Okay.
we will have a class if we're ready for it, so no worries.
Exactly.
Anytime you're in Amsterdam, obviously, more than welcome.
No, I do want to visit Amsterdam.
There you go.
I will absolutely let you know. Now, as you were talking, I was sitting here like, why can't I take the class? Because of the time difference with the East Coast and back home. A lot of my interviews are ending up later in the day.
It's not now, but then maybe possibly when we actually have this interaction on the mat, off the mat, or just whenever both of us are ready for what we need to be talking about on the mat, it will happen. So.
It will happen, absolutely. So what would you say that, well, what I usually ask people, what would you say entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman? But I'm going to ask you, what would you say that yoga has taught you about yourself as a woman?
Oh, wow, the flexibility. You obviously can go through life by being super harsh on yourself or be very strict, but for me, the way I practice yoga is the way I want to live my life, and the way I'm expressing myself on the mat it's a creative flow. None of my flows are the same, mainly because I don't remember them, so experiences cannot be exactly the same, and I like styles of yoga, and I like to live my life with the concept of allow things to happen and explore and do more creative. So what if there is not the name of this posture and it feels good in your body? Go ahead and just explore that. I was about to say just do it and then I'll be in trouble.
Right, you can't say that.
No, please delete.
Let's explore. Yeah, and I think, like you said too, the idea of if it feels good to you in that moment, it doesn't have to have a name or a specific posture, right, or name for that specific.
We are putting too many efforts to remember things or to label them.
Yeah, right. We won't do whatever feels good experience just because you said it really resonated with me. It doesn't have to have a label or exactly what it is if it feels right.
And it's the other one also opposite. If it doesn't feel right, just don't go ahead and do it, because there is a reason why things and your gut feeling is telling you this is not the right timing for that, or you can't pinpoint what exactly is not right, but in postures, just in situations in life, why are you forcing it? Or if you hold your breath, I always say to my students, you're not here to impress me, you're here for your own experience on the mat, and keeping the headstand 20 seconds longer will not make you a better person if you haven't realized why you're doing this. And that's the bigger challenging postures are just like challenging situations in life, I see. And if you find your breath and you go through those challenging situations with ease, is way better.
And see, that's the thing for me. I always make things personal. I just always do. But that's the thing for me with yoga. I think I'm thinking too much, like, not that people who practice yoga aren't athletic, obviously they are, but just from the almost a competitive thing, like, either with yourself or the other, you want to do the posture correctly, you want to do this and that, whereas
it's a totally Western concept.
Right.
So I'm
doing it perfect, and
I struggled with that as well, because I must admit I've learned yoga in a Western environment, but with the notion that I come from Bulgaria where things are slightly more different. I get the sense that we're more spiritually connected, even if we don't always admit it, or we don't like to be called that way. But when I see students of mine and also in other yoga studios that this competition, we keep saying it as yoga, it's not a competition, but if it was, you win. So what does it mean? Did you learn anything from the experience is what I'm more interested in.
Right.
Can you keep the posture for 20,000? It means nothing. And dropping that stress from what the posture should look like, it's all about feeling. In my classes, often I ask students to just close your eyes. We don't need to see how the shape of the body really is. It's about, do you feel the connection between the breath, the posture, the experience really? Because we're creating experiences there. It's not about, a great, amazing flow that no one can remember.
Or getting an A+ on it, like you did it exactly right. Many
Many times I see that people just see yoga as one of those things that you can tick off your to-do list, and it's way deeper than that. And it can start like this, and it's fine, or it could start for many other reasons. Any reason to start yoga is a good reason, and I really push all my students to just give it a try, see what happens. If you don't like it, it's also okay. You just know you don't like it. And again, liking, disliking, labeling things is like, just when you're ready, you find a spiritual action that just changes your mind a bit.
Right. So liking is liking, but labeling is something totally different, right?
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
Excellent. I have to ask you, since you mentioned earlier about Just Do It, with everything going on with Nike and people talking about Nike so much, have there been any other additional stress than you already have in your position with your company, who is obviously the competitor of Nike, with thinking about new ways to approach your work or anything that you guys are doing? I know you're not stressed because you have a yoga practice. You're excited. Is there anything, or just even if not that specifically, anything that you're excited about that's coming up that you can share?
We're not direct competitor with Nike, unfortunately, but I work for Reebok.
Reebok, not Adidas.
It's Adidas. I've worked for both brands, actually, because for the decade that I've been in the company, we're together. We're Adidas Group, and we recently launched an amazing bra for Reebok. It's really the best thing that happened to us in a very long time, because it's especially for women, and it's especially for the support we need in everything we do. We've been to a launch event in Paris just last week, and to see the amazing feedback we're getting for a product that has never seen a market space before. It's amazing. It's you should check it out. It's our ProMove bra. It's very exciting support. It's sensitive to movement technology developed by the NASA people, and basically it's the best product we have out there. I personally tried it on that event, and it feels like you're having nothing wearing, and it gives you that ability to move. As a yogi, you need to be moving, and I even went for a run, which is something I've never done before, which I don't think it's because I had the bra, but it has to do maybe with the fact that you feel comfortable doing things. And we're excited about that. We're excited about speaking to women in a different way. We've always been rooted into what's new for girls and what's new for women, and how we can empower that. And every time we go to work, we think about what are the exciting products we can put out there, and they don't have to be per se. It's not about only the profit, it's how you change people's lives. And
how people feel in them, just as you mentioned before. I love it. So I'll make sure that we link to that. You'll give me
perfect.
So people can check that out.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I just thought about I wonder what you guys have going on. Excellent. I love that. So in closing, if you think over your life and career, and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be, and what would you say?
Yeah, I knew this moment will come because I've heard your podcast, and I know everyone starts to be wondering, and it is a difficult question because there are so many people that did shape me, helped me, supported me. It's going to be my mom, though, mainly because she's not here with me, and losing her made me realize how many lessons she gave me without being too clear on her guiding paths towards me. But she would always say to me, do what feels right, and I kind of do it, but not realizing till maybe now that this is what she gave me. It's the biggest advice and help, and I know she's still around me, and it's a weird feeling when you know that you're not alone and you have that support, even if the person is not anymore here. And it's my mom. She rocks. How
long ago did your mom pass?
7 years ago, and that was the toughest time. And I think it has a lot to do with the yoga helped me tremendously to overcome the grief of losing someone so special. You would never have anyone more special than your mom, according to me, regardless what kind of relationship you have with your mom. But it's unconditional love that you are thinking you're losing by simply not having the person around, but it's still there. It's just in different form.
In a different form, she's still with you. Beautiful, excellent. Now tell everyone how they can support you. I'll have links to, as we mentioned, the product. Of course, if there's a link for the retreat, we'll get a discount code. But where can people go to find out more about you?
I'm mainly in Instagram. Not too many followers, to be honest, but it's authentic. It's what I do. It's your yoga together, YOR, and then yoga, just like you hear it. Facebook is also there, same name.
Your name or your yoga?
Your yoga.
Okay.
You can also find me on Kremena Yordanova. There are many Kremena Yordanovas here in Bulgaria, actually.
Are they? It's a popular name.
It is a popular name in Bulgaria, but when I travel, everyone feels like, oh my God, it's such an exciting, unique name. And I'm like, yeah, right.
Go back home. How often do you come back here to Sofia?
I try my best to come at least 3 times a year for all the retreats we're doing. And if not, I come just for visiting Laura or making some exciting workshops.
How far is it from Amsterdam to here?
I think it's only 3 hours. It's not that bad.
It's not too far.
No, it's not bad at all.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. This is a wonderful time, a beautiful job. You did a great job. This is fantastic. I am going to practice yoga. Every time I talk to someone about it, I have to do it.
When you're ready, the teacher will show up.
Exactly. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elayne. Thanks.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Kremena. Make sure to find out more about her, to find out more about your yoga, and about their upcoming retreat in 2019 if you're listening to this in real time, plus how you can get a Support is Sexy discount. Just go to supportissexy.com. Go to that search icon at the top and search for Kremena, Kremena. Her show notes page will pop up with the links, the resources, the ways to find out more about what she has going on, and to find out about that retreat. Supportissexy.com and just search Kremena. Thank you so much for being here. You know I appreciate you. It's so exciting to share the stories of these women around the world, which we've always done, but to really go to their countries, visit them, and talk to them there has been such a blessing, and I'm so excited to share it all with you. So thank you again for being here. Now, until we chat again, always remember, support is sexy, and having it all doesn't mean doing it all alone. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.